Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Second Cup of Coffee. Pastor Tom here with you. We're on week 3 of our series, Honor the Fallen, Honor the Fallen. We're looking at people either in our personal lives or maybe publicly who have fallen, particularly in the area of Christianity, morally, maybe theologically. There's a lot of different ways you can get tripped up. Satan is not a fair opponent, but those things happen. So what do we do? And if you haven't seen the last 2 weeks, I really encourage you to look at them. We're going to continue. Last week we talked about you got to take the body off display and you got to dispose of it properly and in an honoring way, not just for the person, but for yourself. The next thing that the men of Jabesh Gilead did, again, if you haven't seen this, go back and watch the other two. What they did for Saul was they buried the bones. One of the things that we have a real problem with is we believe in forgiveness, but we don't always believe in forgetting. So there's an old saying, I buried the hatchet and left the handle sticking out. Sometimes we bury the bones, but we leave the femur sticking out. We want to remember when we mark that grave, in case it becomes expedient to us to have that information or to have that at our disposal, maybe to use in an argument with said person or whatever. And being human, it's hard to forgive and forget, but there is a place where I can't go back and dig up the bones because, one, I'm not letting that person move forward, and two, I'm not moving forward myself if I'm stuck in a graveyard. How would I know that? The demoniac didn't even meet Jesus in the graveyard. He came out to the seashore. And so some of you moving forward in your lives, it may have been a moral or theological or whatever kind of failure that somebody's had in your life that's caused you to see Christianity different than you used to, caused an angst or a concern or whatever it is, but you're still living in the graveyard. Bury the bones, leave them alone, and get out to where Jesus is. You know, because in that place, he's going to speak an identity over to you that he may not speak in the graveyard. The demoniac came out to him and he was still oppressed. God spoke to him, delivered him, and then he spoke. And when he delivered him, he was clothed in his right mind. And so you may be looking in your life, how can I move forward in my life? And the nakedness in your life isn't an exposure from Satan. It isn't an exposure from God. It is that you've left the covering because you're buried. You're mad about the bones, or you're living by the bones. You need to come out and allow God to bring an identity to you, that you be clothed and in your right mind to hear the word of God. And you, in that place, you're going to hear something moving forward that you hadn't heard before. How do I know that? He spoke to the demoniac and he said, you can't come with me. But, you know, the guy went to the 10 cities and he began to speak to them about Jesus. Now, that may seem impossible to you because the situation that you're going through may be more than what you feel like you can handle. And it may have shaped your whole vision of Christianity, your whole vision of Christ, your whole vision of the church. I got to tell you, you need to let that go and let God speak to you. We don't know how the demoniac got in the tombs. All we know is how he got out, and it's through Jesus. If you're stuck guarding the bones or living by the bones or making sure the bones are available to you as a defense or whatever else, can I tell you and I ask you, please bury the bones. Get back to the seashore and let Jesus start to speak to you. Because you got a big life ahead of you, and you got a great amount of God that he wants to pour into you and through you and out of you. If you're afraid to do that because of what you've seen, take it from somebody who's walked where you've walked. You can trust him. You can trust him, and he will do the miraculous in you and through you. If this meant something to you, please share it. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube, either the Rancho Christian site or a Second Cup, RCC Second Cup of Coffee. You can also find us on our app, which is available at any app store. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.